Well, former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, William Taylor, joins us now. I suppose the biggest news of the day, Ambassador, is Vladimir Putin saying that his nuclear forces have been placed on high alert. What does that say to you?
John, that says to me that that Condi Rice is right. That is, this man has he's not operating with a full deck on this thing. He is being erratic. He's not acting rational. He's an irrational actor to make that kind of statement. That said, his forces are already on alert. I mean, all the forces are on alert, so it's not clear at all what he had in mind for that. Maybe it was just to show. Maybe it was just to try, as I think your reporter suggested, another try to intimidate either President Zelensky or the West. And so far, John, he's failed.
Yeah, what he has done, it seems, is make NATO and the West more unified. Listen to this from the relatively new German Chancellor, Olaf Scholz. It is a statement. I'm sorry. He said the Russian invasion of Ukraine marks a turning point. It threatens our entire post-war order. In this situation, it is our duty to do our utmost to support Ukraine in defending itself against Vladimir Putin's invading army. Germany stands closely by Ukraine's side. Something of a remarkable statement coming from Germany.
It's not only that remarkable statement, he backed it up with a lot of action. He's talking about now getting up to the 2% of GDP that is the NATO target that the Germans haven't done. The Germans are right now well below that. They're going to put a lot more into their defense. And they're also going to right now be providing weapons, some of the ones you all just talked about on this show, that is Stingers and Javelins, to the Ukrainians. So the Germans are stepping up.
The talk of peace talks to take place on the Belarusian border between Ukraine and Russia, also in the news today. One Ukrainian mother hiding out in a bomb shelter poo-pooed the prospects of that. Listen to her.
Why do you think that after these talks you can trust him? Why? Only, immediately the language of force. This is the war, and Putin understands only the language of the war. Stop being in this denial. It has started. The hard times, the dark times. I was in this state of denial 4 days ago when I was taking my kids to school and kindergarten. Everything was fine, but now I realize that I'm in the nightmare, and it's for real, guys.
That's a Ukrainian mother, Mr. Ambassador, who understands that Putin knows only the language of force. Pretty good assessment, it seems like.
I agree with you, and I agree with her. I agree with Olena. A good assessment. President Putin will push until he finds something firm. And, John, he's found something firm. I mean, you've talked about how the Ukrainian military has really stood firm. They have been pushing back. They have bloodied this attack. They have stopped many of these attacks. Your reporter is also right. They've got the overwhelming force. The Russians have overwhelming force. But so far, the Ukrainian military has stopped them on many occasions. Not all, and they are around Kyiv. I've been in touch with my good friend. I got several good friends that are in those same bunkers that you just showed there. And they know, they can hear that the Russians are close by. But they are standing firm, and they are not going to give up.
Putin had to know that sanctions were coming. He mentioned sanctions in his statement about, alerting putting his nuclear forces on high alert. Is this all just bluster, or might he really push the red button?
I don't think he'll be pushing the red button. We talked about the tactics of the Russians. They don't use this kind of a weapon against a much smaller adversary. They're not in danger of losing in this case. That's when the Russian doctrine would said to use nuclear weapons is when they're in danger of losing. they are in danger of failing to do what they intended to do in the time frame that they intended to do it. They thought that they would already be in Kyiv. They thought they'd already been. They would have already taken over Kyiv, but they haven't. So they've delayed it, and even these talks that you mentioned are more delays. The delays, John, those delays, they actually help the Ukrainians. That gives the Germans and the Americans and others time to get more reinforcements in there, more resupply in there, and that helps us. It helps the Ukrainians, and it's a delaying tactic.
The Russians are in danger of being embarrassed on the world stage, and that is something that Vladimir Putin does not like to see. Former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, William Taylor. Ambassador Taylor, thanks so much for being with us.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.